All right, we're at 18,900 miles on the G310R. It's time for one of the scheduled maintenance intervals on this bike. Today is going to be more of a what to than a how to. But we're going to change the oil. So we'll start out, taking out our drain plug right here, draining out the oil, and then we will swap out this oil filter. After changing the oil, we got several other just basic maintenance items we'll take care of, and I'll just show you guys what items I do at a standard interval. All right, I've drained that oil, and while I'm down here putting my drain bolt back in, I'm going to clean up and lube my shifter assembly always as part of service. Just get everything down here nice and clean and lubricated along with the stand. But ever since my little roadside breakdown where this assembly came off, I also torqued this bolt right here. Just snug that up. Every time I'm in here for service, I make sure I'm nice and tight. But then I'll also get all this cleaned up right here. And again, I just do that while I'm down here putting back in the drain bolt. Then with cars and motorcycles, I always take a quick look at the belly pan, in addition to just doing a flashlight check around the lower part of the engine before I put the belly pan back on. This is the time to catch any leaks that we don't know about. So I use this Castrol Power One on my BMW. This meets all the BMW specs. It's a great oil. And so, you're never going to get the exact amount on a drain. So what I do, if you notice, my drain actually measures. I use a little catch can that measures. So I took out about 1,400 mil. The bike was about 100 mil low when I started. So I'm going to put back in 1,500. And that should have us at topped off. But I'll put that in and then check from there. Specs call for 1,700, but again, I don't think we got that last 200 mil on the drain. Here's that 1,400 mil that we measured coming out. Bike was about 100 mil low when we started, so 1,500 mil is what I put back. You will see at the moment we're sitting just a little bit high. But she hasn't been cranked over yet. So got to crank her over, let that oil filter fill up, and let the system take some oil. And I think that'll come back down and be dead level. We'll see how we do. All right, after running that engine up to temp, she did take about another 50 milliliters, but we're good now. Next, we're just checking clutch play. Spec here is about 2 millimeters. And I'm happy with that. All right, so we check brake fluid here on the front cylinder. And we check brake fluid here on the rear cylinder. Both of those are looking good. All right, gonna be hard to pick up on screen, but we've shot in here, looked at our coolant, and it's riding right at the men line. If you know these G310Rs, that's where they ride. Anything above men, they spit it back out anyway. Front brake pads got plenty of wear. Check front tire pressure and top that off to spec 31.9. And while we're down here with tire pressure, we're just gonna check all the fens on the radiator. Make sure nothing lodged in there, nothing damaged about the radiator, and that all looks good to go. All right, next we hooked up OBD Link and MotoScan and read the system for codes, made sure we were free of codes. We checked that our engine malfunction light, MIL, CEL, whatever you want to call it, works. We checked that our fan is operating as it should. Basically just went through all the little actuators, coolant warning lights, just every little actuator. We have already checked engine suppression. We will go high beam, low beam right here. We will do turn signals front and back. You know, we got that. We got that. And we've checked brake lights already. So we're good to go on all of our lights and all of our warning lights, everything about our instrument panel. All that checks out good to go. All right, while we're here with the seat open, we had the moto scan hooked up. You know, we did go ahead and reset the service lights, and while we're in here, it's a good time to do a battery test. So we've run a battery test. We have a good battery, 100% status of health. 234 cranking amps is what it's measuring here. That's obviously way above spec. So battery is looking great. Okay, checked and corrected rear tire pressure. Now, on these rear brake pads, we are down there low, but that's okay. We've got the new set here in the shop ready to go. So I'm just gonna take these all the way down before I put that new set on. I don't want to waste any brake pads. So here's my jack that drives everybody crazy, but it's just super fast to jack this thing on the swing arm, and that gets my rear wheel up. So the next thing we will do is we will check chain tension and clean the chain. Okay, front and back. You know, we come in and do a tread wear inspection. I actually have a tread wear gauge. I pop in here as well. So we also look at, you know, make sure there's no cupping, anything of that nature. And while we're down here, I get in and just do a visual inspection on the speed sensors and, you know, all around the moving parts down here on the discs, just to make sure everything's good to go and clean down here. All right, a thing I do is I leave the belly pan off until very last when I've done my full walk around. Made sure I've done all my service points, all my caps are back on, oil caps, valve caps, master cylinder caps. Just done a full visual around the bike. You know, a couple things that we did off camera is we looked at steering bearings and suspension, and you know, just good visual and physical checks on everything all around the bike. And last but not least, we come over here and just look through, you know, our whole maintenance log and just confirm for ourselves that we've done everything scheduled today and that we have everything knocked out that we wanted to get knocked out today. And that's it for a standard maintenance. That's everything I do on the basic maintenances right there. And then another day, actually coming up in a few thousand miles, I'll be due for a heavier maintenance, which is where the plastics come off. We get into air filters and spark plugs and valve checks and all that good stuff. But everything we just ran through, this might sound like overkill to some of you, but I do what I just did every 3,100 miles. The chain maintenance I do more frequently than that. The chain clean and tension check is every 400 to 500 miles. But I get an oil change and a full service in every 3,100. Might sound like overkill to a lot of people, but you know, this bike's got 19,000 miles on it and runs like the day I bought it, and I hope to continue that trend for many, many more years. So that's what I do. So finishing up here, why do I DIY? A little bit of it is about money. You know, I have 7 vehicles, 3 motorcycles, 3 cars, and a truck. And DIY saves me a lot in a year. You know, my total cost today in materials was you know, a quart and a half of oil, which is cheap, and my labor's free to me. I don't know what you guys are paying for standard services at the BMW dealer. I've heard it's north of 200 these days at my local dealer for the service that I just did. Not sure about that. You guys tell me in the comments what you're paying. But more than money, it is knowing every detail of my vehicles. I personally know my vehicles end to end, know everything about them, do all the work with my hands, my eyes. So there's really nothing about the health of any of my vehicles that I'm not very in tune with. So that's one of the things I love about DIY. Another is just ensuring the quality and detail of the work. I know some of you folks feel the opposite. I know some of you folks feel like, you know, there's something magic that goes on at the dealership that's higher quality. Uh, I don't really like to trust a vehicle out of my sight, especially for standard maintenance, because standard maintenance is usually where your vehicle is ending up with the apprentice, you know, the new kid in the shop. You're not usually getting that master mechanic, you know, when you're in for an oil change and some fluid swaps and some visual inspections. You're not getting the master mechanic, guys. You're getting that entry level guy, and no shame on him. He's got to start somewhere. I used to be that kid in the dealership. But yeah, when it comes to my personal vehicles, I like to make sure that I'm doing everything myself, and I know exactly what was done, how it was done, why it was done. And that's it.